Hello Blazers, no fuckers there, how guys doing today? Welcome to a brand new demonetized video just like my previous 6 videos. I love my life. I actually tried barely swearing or not swearing at all in a lot of my previous videos and they all get demonetized anyway, so maybe extreme Russian liberals that think that the Russian YouTube office is working with the Russian governments are real. They're speaking facts. That's what Putin is doing to me, okay? He's not locking me up in the gulag for making these videos like you guys always say I'm gonna get locked up. He's just demonetizing every single one of my videos so I don't have motivation and I cannot buy breads at Pichorachka. Thank you, my dog. Thank you. So today's video is gonna be pretty simple because I'm working in a pretty big video right now. It's in the works, so I need something to upload in the meantime. But this video is gonna be pretty fun because today we're gonna be debunking myths about Russia. Actually, thinking of it, probably what we're gonna do today is more like debunking the debunking of myths about Russia and stereotypes about Russia. I was just randomly on the internet recently and I came across these articles which are like myths about Russia and you know, like the kind of BuzzFeed article, you know, epic win, fail. So yeah, we're gonna look at a bunch of those epic sort of BuzzFeed-like articles today and just talk about myths about Russia and which of them are true and which of them are not, from the point of view of a 21-year-old Zoomer. Or should I say 21-year-old liberast. Stop calling me a vatnik, okay? Because I'm not. I'm not! Alright, let's get into this. The thing with a lot of these articles about Russian stereotypes and stuff like that, a lot of what they say is pretty true. But a lot of it seems like it comes from a point of somebody that lives in the Moscow center and hasn't really seen the life. Or just doesn't care about politics that much, I guess. So these are not usually manipulative or wrong, but they're definitely not 100% right. So that's what I'm gonna say. The majority of Russian stereotypes on these websites is usually like, oh, it's so cold, Russians like to drink, nobody smiles, Russia is dangerous, which are all pretty much true. I'm just kidding, okay? Now, all these websites, they all talk about drinking, you know, everybody drinks in Russia and stuff like that. It's true. I would say the biggest difference between people drinking in Europe and in Russia is that in Russia, people get their ass beat as well. Because in Russia, nobody gets drunk without getting in a fight. So this is pretty much why gopniks are so rampant on the streets, is because if it's Friday night and you're walking around, gopniks have a little bit of shitty Russian beer in their blood, and they want blood. So they're gonna beat your ass for having a long haircut. That's what's gonna happen. I don't know about Moscow, but in my city, if you have a haircut like mine, you get in your ass beat, for sure, dog. I don't know how I escaped it so far, but there's been situations where I've been close. It's just always really funny how they write this. For example, Russia is dangerous. Stories about the fabled Russian mafia might make great headlines for lazy journalists, but the days of shootouts in broad daylight and kiosks being blown up are long gone, and were in fact highly exaggerated in the first place. Right, that's true, they're talking about 90s gangsters and stuff like that. Yeah, you know, nobody's pulling up with the strap in Russia and popping cap in your ass, because it's kind of hard to get guns, and you know, if you're in the hood in Russia, I live in a straight up hood, okay? Like, someday I need to make a video about this. I live in a hood. Nobody's popping caps in your ass in this district. You just getting either beaten up, robbed, or you might up with a knife in your liver. But, you know, that is if you get very unlucky. I think I'm good though, because I've been stopped by gopniks in my hood, and I've just told them that I'm from the hood, and they were like, oh, okay, you cool then. Keep walking. And I ran. Russians will tell you to avoid the outskirts of Moscow in the evenings, but there's little to see or do there anyway. And the center of Moscow or St. Petersburg is probably safer than your hometown at night. Now, like, this is the fucking, like, this is the viewpoints of, like, the traveler, okay? It's like, oh yeah, the center of Mogadishu is not very scary or dangerous, but avoid the outskirts at night, because there you're gonna get beat up. But it's like, it's not, there's nothing to see there anyway, right? I mean, first of all, Doc, not every Russian lives in Moscow. And Moscow is a pretty libtard city as far as it goes, right? Because, you know, in Chelyabinsk, people get their ass beat for having long hair, okay? I feel like in St. Petersburg, people get their ass beat if they don't have long hair. Every single fucking dude there has long hair like mine, straight up. That city is progressive as hell. Of course, if you're a tourist coming to visit Moscow, of course you're gonna avoid outskirts of Moscow at evening. But if you're a poor ass like myself, you're not gonna avoid the outskirts of Moscow at evening because that's where you live, bruh. You don't have any other choice. Of course, if I could just live in the center of Moscow when there's no drunk gopniks walking around, that is actually debatable as well. Of course, I would totally live there, right? But I can't. because I'm broke. Like, I've been saving up my YouTube earnings ever since I started this channel, and I still can barely afford a flat at the outskirts of Moscow, because that is how ridiculous the housing prices in that city are, okay? And even then, I risk myself getting beat up by gopniks. So once again, this is bullshit, okay? Oh yeah, just avoid the outskirts and stay in the center of Moscow with your billions of dollars that you have because you're an American, which earns 10 times the average Russian worker. Of course. Thank you, very nice. You know what? Pull up to fucking Churilova, bruh. Pull up to Chertanova or some shit. Pull up to Chetaz at 2 AM on a Saturday night and see if you're gonna walk away with teeth. Okay? Because you're nuts. I'm sorry that I sound so annoying about this, but I'm passionate, okay? Because this is straight up painting it as if it's not as bad as it is, but it is. Especially in my city, I'm sorry. Now again, this one about nobody ever smiling and Russians looking gloom as hell and stuff like that. I mean, honestly, Russians just, Russia is kind of a sad country. Because honestly, I think it has to do with the weather in here, because when it's winter, you barely get sun. Sometimes there are winter sunny days, but most of the time it's just gray as hell. And in Russia, winter lasts for like 7 months. So, and there's like slush and garbage on the grounds. It's so mushy as fuck. The ground is gray, the sky is gray, the buildings are gray and cummy. It's just not environments I want to smile in. And just not an environment anybody wants to smile in. It has to do with the mentality again. Yes, people say, you know, Americans like to be all smiles and stuff like that. Russians only smile to people they know and like. That's true, but I think also the country looking gray as shit most of the time and just depressing. And with an average neighborhood in a rural Russian city looking kind of like this, I think that kind of explains why nobody ever smiles in this country. Like in Russia, if you're just alone by yourself and you smile at nothing, people are gonna think you're insane. That's straight up, that's just how it goes. You're gonna get bad looks, so don't smile. Period. I really like this one right here. Russia is poor. While Russia as a country is not poor, most Russians are struggling to make ends meet. Still, things are not that bad. In the ranking of countries by GDP, Russia finishes in 12th place, and the country has over 180,000 US dollar millionaires. Yeah, this kind of reminds me of when, like, Indian people were triggered and they were saying how they have the most billionaires in the world or something, so that means that Indians are not poor. Exactly the same right here. We have a bunch of corrupt as fuck millionaires, and Putin is also apparently the richest man in the world, literally just because of how corrupt he is, so it's pretty cool. Russia has the greatest income inequality in the world. In 2017, over 22 million people, about 50% of the total population, were living below the poverty level, with about 5 million people earning less than $1,600 a year. Superpower, guys. Superpower right there, okay? 15% of the population is living under poverty level. Superpower. Nukes. Are you fucking kidding me? This country is so third world, it's ridiculous. My parents earn about $350 a month each. So, you guys can understand what kind of background I'm coming from. Can't really exactly afford the expensive stuff. Couldn't really afford to travel abroad when I was a kid. Or travel, really, at all. And my parents still can't now. It's only YouTube that gives me at least some income to afford all these things that I would have never been able to afford otherwise. But yeah, looking at this and thinking about my upbringing and the economic background I'm coming from, really makes me pretty sad actually, so let's move on to the next topic. This one I love. In Russia, you cannot attend a protest or an anti-government rally. Let's see what they say about this one. You can, as freedom of speech is guaranteed by the country's constitution. That's true. Russian constitution does guarantee freedom of speech, but I've also said in the past that the Russian constitution is one of my favorite fictional books of all time. It's one of the greatest works of fiction. Yeah, we have freedom of speech. People get locked up for stuff they post online, and YouTubers get locked up for their videos online. And also, the recent protests in Russia, by the way. Basically, the Russian government did not let a bunch of candidates from the opposition to even be able to participate in the election in the Moscow Duma. And there were huge protests about it, and people not only were locked up, but beaten up. We have OMON and we have the National Guard, which is kind of like the police with extra abilities. Basically, according to the legislation, they can basically beat anybody up, and they can also shoot on sight. So I wonder when that's gonna happen. Basically, Tiananmen 1989 vibes here in Russia right now. But yeah, in this recent protest, basically people were beaten up by the cops massively. Everybody was being arrested for absolutely no reason whatsoever. And the police brutality at Russian protests has reached its absolute peak. They literally do not allow anti-governmental protests anymore. Because if you have one, you're gonna get beat up and jailed. Okay, I'm gonna explain it a bit more, let's keep reading. Go into the street and shout as much as you like, but there is one important condition that must be observed. If you want to hold a demonstration with more than one person, you must provide the authorities with advance notification to hold a public event in writing. Then, as long as things remain peaceful and orderly, you can say whatever you want. True, it may not be as easy to hold a demonstration as it is in other countries, but it is far from illegal. Here's the issue though, is that yes, you're supposed to submit a notification to the authorities, but the thing is that if it's a anti-governmental, oppositional demonstration of sorts, they will not allow you to do it. They will not approve of it. So the authorities essentially have to approve your demonstration before you can go out on the streets. And essentially, you're protesting Putin. So why would they approve that, right? So the thing is that they usually do approve these demonstrations, but they approve them in only one specific space, which essentially leaves people locked in there. So the possibility of an actual demonstration where you can like march down the street and scream something is not possible, right? People just want to march in the streets, say their opinion, and just hold like a bunch of Russian flags or whatever, but guess what? They get beat up and put in jail for 15 days, for 30 days, for just going outside on this beautiful day when the demonstration is taking place. Because the Russian government does not approve if you submit a notification for anti-Putin demonstrations. Because, okay, you know, obviously, why would they, right? So yeah, this point right here about attending protests or anti-government rallies, pretty bullshit, because if you actually take a look at what anti-government rallies look like in Russia right now, you can see that it's basically illegal at this point. So Russian economy is completely dependent on oil. This is a clear stereotype that does not take into account the many other important sectors of the country's economy. In terms of generating GDP, oil is a big help, but there are some crucial parts of the economy that we should keep in mind as well. I think it's a bit of an issue when oil constitutes like 40 or 50% of your country's entire income. And the thing is that you guys know that Russia is corrupt as fuck. Everybody knows this. Every single governmental like worker pretty much steals money straight up. The only reason why this still keeps going and why our country just has not collapsed with all this corruption, the only reason why our country is not completely out of money yet is because of oil. Like again, Russia is such a ridiculously rich country in resources. We have everything. We have fucking everything. We could live like kings, but we're not. Because all of our natural resources are being pillaged, are being stolen, are being repurposed, and are going into the wallets of the government officials. And we are not getting any of that, because we're just a bunch of peasants that keep voting Putin. So yeah, of course the oil does not constitute 100% of Russia's budget. If it was not for oil, gas, wood, this country would be destroyed. This country couldn't exist. It couldn't. So yeah guys, I know it seems like I'm being very harsh to these articles right here, you know, and so yeah, it seems like I'm going in on these websites, but I'm not, okay? It's not that bad. As a Russian, I do appreciate that some people are making an effort to explain it to Westerners that not everything here is as bad as you guys make it seem. But the thing is that while doing that, you're also sugarcoating everything and making it seem a bit better than it actually is. And you're actually basically shutting your mouth about some very, very real and big issues, which is what annoys me, and which is actually what I'm trying to do with this channel, because I feel like I'm an authentic Russian dude, you know. I might look like a femboy liptard, but in my heart, deep down, I've lived the life, and I'm living the life right now, dude. Stuck in the hood in Chelyabinsk. Straight up, dog. And I know what's up, so this is why I really like making these Russian videos, because I feel like this is a unique opportunity. There's not many authentic Russian people, Russian YouTubers like myself, that don't exploit their culture for views, but try to educate, I guess. Yeah, so I guess I'm gonna continue on doing just that, and I hope you guys did enjoy this video today on me looking at some Russian stereotypes and myths. I hope you guys did learn something new today. I hope you guys did learn something interesting in today's video, and that's gonna be pretty much it for it. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you guys did, please make sure to slap the motherfucking like button, and as well, guys, if you want to support my channel, because once again, every single of my videos has been getting demonetized recently, so I would really appreciate if you guys would donate to my Patreon. The link is down in the description. You could support me. And maybe I will make it out of my hood. And yeah guys, that is going to be pretty much it for today's video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.